ঝিরি ঝিরি পিয়ালের ছন্দ ছায়াতে আজ বন ময়ূরের নাচ দেখতে যাব।
All right, well, welcome to Ripke Studios guest musician feature. This is episode 10. You're episode 10.
Okay.
And my guest today is Bidisha Ghosh, a wonderful singer from, well, not from, but in Ann Arbor, Michigan right now, right? Sitting in your living room?
Yes, I'm in my
Patio?
house. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the space behind you. We've had many rehearsals right there.
Yes, that's
Yes.
my living room. Yeah.
Yeah, right
I
back
wasn't planning on sitting here, but this is where I am now. And this is also my office now.
Okay.
The family dining room is now my office because I work from home.
Right. And the kids are online too?
Yes. They
So-
are in their rooms upstairs.
Okay.
They take Zoom call the whole day
Okay.
with their
okay.
teachers.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Almost swallowed an ice cube. All right. Well, I'm going to start with the first question, kind of going back, and I'm really curious about your beginnings in learning music because for most of the people I've had on so far, musicians, it's probably very different because were you in Mumbai, right?
Yes.
When you started? So can you just tell me about your beginnings and what that was like starting, what it was like for a child in that place to start learning music or whenever you started?
Okay, my singing started right at home. My mom is a singer, and so I grew up listening to her, and so that was my first experience with music and singing right at home. Then I grew up in a university town, and so we were surrounded with musicians. We were surrounded with teachers in every subject possible. And my music teacher in elementary, middle, and high school taught us many nice songs, and she encouraged us to sing in social functions in school, many cultural functions in school. So we sang all the time in school, and she also we also participated in many inter-school competitions, and so we used to do a lot of competitions with other schools, and so we used to either host competitions or go to other competitions, usually within Mumbai. So I think this was like part of my growing up, music at home and singing in school with a teacher who was very encouraging. And I think she inculcated a love for me to sing light classical, semi-classical, devotional, folk songs. So I think that's where I got it from.
Mm-hmm.
My love for singing the songs that I sing now, that's where it started.
Okay. And did you have this, was it the same person, like all growing up?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
pretty
In
amazing.
India, we don't have 3 different schools. So it's like one school from grade 1 to grade 12.
Yeah.
And so I had the same teacher, same music teacher throughout.
That's pretty amazing because they can see you, they get to know you really well, and you can develop
Yes.
a long time with the same teacher. Now, in adulthood, is that the same person you studied with, or?
No. So my school music teacher was also my personal teacher. When I grew up in Bombay, I took classical lessons with her personally as well. But after I came to the US in 98, I started taking lessons with my current guru, Pandita Tripti Mukherjee, who's based in New Jersey. At that time, I was a graduate student in Penn State, and my roommate, Shahana, who was taking music lessons from her, got to know that I sing, and so she took me to one of the music lessons in Pittsburgh. And so that's how my music lessons started. So I went there, and I was very inspired by her. In fact, that was probably because she belongs to gharana. Gharana is essentially a home. That's the style of singing cultivated in that home. So she comes from a gharana called the Mewati Gharana, Mewati, Mewati. And so this style of classical music was completely new to me. Like I had learned classical before, but I think I truly started to appreciate classical music once I started learning from her. How a rag is structured, how you do alap, how you improvise, like how you develop a song, improvise within a song, how you sing a rag for a good amount of time, like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's like 4 lines or 5 lines, but how do you expand that to sing for an extended period of time? I got to learn from her. So I would say that I got to appreciate Indian classical, Hindustani classical vocal music definitely through her. Like she was my inspiration,
Right.
and she is my inspiration.
Right. Very nice. Yep.
Yeah.
So a couple of those terms, I happen to know what they mean, but for people checking this out who may not know the terms, can you explain? Well, you said rag. That's one thing that confused me at first, because a raga, right? But it's more commonly referred to as a rag, which would be
both. You can. I think both are used, rag
Yep.
or raga. I just say rag, but you'll hear others saying raga. So I think both are commonly used. So you want me to explain what rag means?
Yeah, just basically, so like in my mind, if I compare it to Western music, it's basically a scale, but it's very different. It can be very different, and there's a lot more depth to it than that. But yeah, just how would you explain it to somebody?
Yeah, well, I have to sing a little bit to explain it, but
Yeah,
let me
please.
try.
Yeah.
So a rag is essentially a set of notes which follow some rules. And so if you sing within that rag, you have to follow those rules and sing in that melody. So for example, the simplest rag that we start with, say, is rag Bhupali. So let's go with the very simple rules in Bhupali. So Bhupali has 5 notes. It's sa, re, ga, pa, and dha. So if I sing it, it's sa, re, ga, pa, dha, sa. That's it. So Bhupali has these 5 notes. So the first rule would be the note ma and ni do not occur in Bhupali. Just like Western music, Indian music has 7 main scales like sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa.
Yep.
But ma and ni would not be there in Bhupali, right? And then there are some more subtle rules, like you cannot go from one note to another note directly or something like that. But in Bhupali, it's pretty straightforward. You can pretty much go from one note to any other note without breaking the rules of the rag. And so as long as you sing these notes and you are, making melodies small or, longer melodies within the rules of this rag, you are in Bhupali. Okay. And so like that, there are many different rags, like many rags, and each rag will have its own melody and its own structure and its own rules.
Right. Yep. And that's the really tricky part. Like for me, learning it, I could learn the notes, but those little rules, like the approach of a note. Like I know one that Anoop showed me was, it was a Carnatic one, but I'm sure it has an equivalent northern name. But when you get to the last sa, the high, you had to approach it from pa.
Okay.
So you had to go back to pa, then slide up to the sa, then go back down the scale.
Yes.
So little things like that, and they do also affect the mood. I heard you do a couple little tricks there when you sang it at the end there. It sounded like you were sliding up to a note.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you could do both though. I mean, it's not really, I could do sa, re, ga, pa, dha, sa, or sa, re, ga, pa, dha, sa. In Bhupali, both work actually. So both are right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just I started getting into that level of it. That's a whole new level of practice. Yeah. You need just to do it over and over again. And for me, not singing it, but playing it, but I still need to just keep repeating it. So
to understand a rag properly, you would need to work on it for at least a couple of months to get a complete picture and to be able to follow all the nuances. So it's hard to explain in in a few minutes what a rag is.
Right. Yeah.
How a rag is structured, and if you want to get into it, you have to learn for a longer time.
Right. Yes. And I want to ask you about the alap, but I have one thing about the rag too is, with like in Western music, the chords that I would play on a guitar are the biggest variation for mood that I can create. But with the rags, there is even a mood or a feeling or a time of day associated with most of them. Do you stick pretty close to those rules? I mean, you know them, but do you stick close to them when you're singing?
I personally don't sing. When I perform, I don't sing rags as much.
Right.
That's mainly because I love Indian classical vocal, I love Hindustani classical vocal, and I love learning it, but I don't necessarily love performing a rag. I like, as I told you right in the beginning, I like performing semi-classical, folk, devotional. Right. So I don't have to adhere to the time, mainly because I don't sing it. As far as, since I teach Indian classical music, I have to teach them all the rags. They need to learn all the rags, and I only teach in the evenings. So I can't really adhere to a particular time a rag is sung when I'm teaching.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Right? And so I would say, no, I don't adhere to a time. Like, for example, Rag Bhairav, it's a more serious rag. It's also a rag on which we do our practice on, like our riyaz. And that's typically sung in the early hours of morning at 5 a.m. or, very early in the morning. But I'm actually teaching Rag Bhairav to my students right now in the evening.
Yeah. And I think I saw an interview with maybe Ravi Shankar, somebody. They're talking about that you can't give a concert at 5 a.m. So then you would, if you were sticking to those rules, you could never play those pieces. There's no concerts at 5 a.m. that I know of. So it's not practical.
Well, there are concerts at 5 a.m. in India, actually.
In India, yeah. Probably
yes,
there.
In India.
But if he's touring the U.S., he's not going to get anybody to come out.
Exactly. And so then if you want to sing those rags, you will sing it at some other time.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, the Olip. Can you explain what an Olip is? And this was one of my favorite things in our performances when you did these.
The alap. So alap is a slow rendition of any melody. Like if you sing it slowly, softly and slowly, that's your alap. So in Bhupali, if I take a few notes and, just sing it, typically an alap is sung in what is called akar. Akar is basically sung with your syllable a. And so if you just sing some notes, any melody in akar, that's what we call it, in a, that's your alap. So in Bhupali, if you do dhasa re dhasa, so dhasa re dhasa, that's an alap.
Yep. Okay. And it's like not solo, but like with just the drone. It's before like the rest of the music starts up, right?
Yes. So alap, typically, if you are singing a rag, you would sing it. It's an introduction to a rag. So you would sing it before you even start the song in the rag.
Right. Yep.
But then you can also do alap within a song. That's more getting into improvising within a song. So that's what we have done when we have sung songs together. When I have done alap within a song, it's essentially doing an alap within a song.
Right.
So that's done too.
Okay, cool.
ঝিরি ঝিরি পিয়ালের ছন্দা ছায়াতে আজ বন ময়ূরের নাচ দেখতে যাব ঝিরি ঝিরি পিয়ালের ছন্দা ছায়াতে আজ বন ময়ূরের নাচ দেখতে যাব 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 লাল লাল শিমুলের অনুরাগে ভরা রং অন্তরে আজ আমি কুড়িয়ে পাবো বন ময়ূরের নাচ দেখতে যাব বন ময়ূর Bogo